Hey guys, welcome back to another one. If you're new to the channel, I am Gold Pony. I do new car, truck, SUV reviews on YouTube, and today we're in the brand new 2026 Kia Carnival, courtesy of Fred Beaton's Kia in Mechanicsburg, PA. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. So we're in this one today because there is plenty of cargo space in this thing. You also get America's best warranty, being 5 years, 60,000 mile bumper to bumper, 10 years, 100,000 miles on the powertrain. Also a healthy, naturally aspirated V6. You gotta appreciate that. And I asked for the navy blue interior because you never find blue interiors, and I'm super excited about that. But ultimately in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so there are several different trim levels for the 2026 Carnival. First one being the LX, starting at $36,990, LXS for $38,990, EX for $41,190, SX, which is the one we are in today, going for $46,090, and lastly the SX Prestige starting at $51,090. But regardless of the trim level that you go with, the power plant is going to be the same. Powering the Carnival is a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6. You gotta appreciate that, putting out 287 horsepower at 6,400 RPM, 260 pound-feet of torque, coming in at 5,000 RPM. That power being sent to the front wheels through an 8-speed automatic. 0 to 60 time is going to come in at approximately 7 seconds flat. Top speed, if you're interested in this van, 118 miles per hour, with MPG numbers coming in at 18 in the city, 26 on the highway, taking regular unleaded fuel. But so that before we do any kind of fun acceleration test here in our Carnival, I did want to mention to you guys the drive modes. There's a gloss black drive mode button located just behind the shifter. Drive modes will include Eco, Normal, Sport, and Smart, adjusting things like the throttle response, the shift points, and it's going to dial back the AC a little bit too if you have it in that eco driving mode. But now having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find it straight away. Let's put the acceleration here to the test, and let's see how quickly we can get our new 2026 Kia Carnival here up to speed. All right, found our straightaway here in 3, 2, 1, go. Nice. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And actually, there was just a little inkling of slipping because the power is being all just sent to the front wheel. So it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be with all that power being sent to the front wheels. Like, I remember the Honda Odyssey, like, I was spinning a good bit, but Kia actually put the power to the ground pretty darn well. Less slipping in this one for whatever reason. So, and again, plenty of an acceleration for this thing, but in the back of my mind, I still would love, absolutely would love if the Carnival had all-wheel drive, because there would have been any slipping and I wouldn't have any issues worrying about driving in the snow or something like that, because I don't think I even saw a snow drive mode. There isn't one. So yeah, I would love all-wheel drive. Kia, if you're watching this, add an all-wheel drive option for the Carnival. That would be absolutely wonderful. But again, acceleration, plenty fine. But to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so up front, you will find 12.8-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 12.8-inch solid rear discs. As far as that 60-0 stopping distance goes, that comes in at 132 feet. As far as braking feel goes, it does feel like it's a little bit on the softer side of things, so it does kind of feel like that number a little bit. Not that I expected anything different. I didn't expect a firm braking feel because this isn't a sports sedan or anything like that, but it's perfectly fine. It's something that you would get used to. I don't have any issues with it in a minivan or whatever, so no issues there. But then touching on suspension and handling, up front, you're going to get an independent McPherson strut front suspension. In the back, independent multi-link rear suspension. As far as ride quality goes, it's okay. It's actually, I don't have any issues with the ride quality in the Carnival. I wouldn't have any issues taking this thing on a long road trip. As far as steering feel goes, it's pretty much as you would expect the Carnival to feel like when it comes to the steering feel. It's actually not a super loose steering feel like I expected, but it's not a super heavy steering feel like you would expect in like a Honda Pilot or something like that. It's pretty much average. It's perfectly fine, no issues there. Touching on the cabin noise a little bit, this is kind of interesting because the cabin noise itself is really nice. Like, it's a very serene cabin because you have acoustic laminated front windshield. Actually, for all trim levels, there's an acoustic laminated front door glass for the EX, the SX, and the SX Prestige. And actually, acoustic laminated rear door glass is going to be optional on the SX Prestige as well. So as far as that goes, it's perfectly fine. The only thing is, there's a big time echo in here. You guys might think it's my mic, but I literally just got this brand new mic just a few days ago, so I know it's not the mic. There is definitely an echo in here when I'm talking, so I don't know if maybe if I put the third row up there would be a little bit less of an echo, but I'm not used to this in the minivan, but it's fine. It's just interesting. It's definitely echoey in here. But then taking a look at rear visibility, looking out my rear view mirror, again, I don't have the third row up, so everything looks perfectly fine to me. That's perfectly on point. Did want to also mention though, with the SX and the SX Prestige, by the way, we have the SX trim level. I think I said that already, but rain sensing windshield wipers will come with those 2 trim levels. So whenever this thing detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on the windshield wipers for you. So one less thing you got to worry about there. That's going to help out with forward visibility. Also with the SX Prestige, you're going to get a head-up display. We don't have that with us here today, unfortunately, but that's going to project your speed limit, and safety features up onto your windshield. Again, assisting with forward visibility. And the other thing is with forward visibility, LED headlights do come standard for all trim levels across the board. So at night, you're going to be perfectly on point there. But that kind of leads us into the exterior. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2026 Kia Carnival, finished in ceramic silver. Definitely looks pretty darn good. Not as good as the interior colors though. We'll get to that a little bit later in the video, but as always, let's go ahead and start with where the Carnival is made. Taking a look at the VIN, first character is the letter K, indicating that the 2026 Carnival is built and assembled in Korea. You gotta love that. But starting up front, LED reflector headlights do come standard for all trim levels but the SX Prestige, because the SX Prestige is going to give you LED projector headlights. So your next question is going to be, what's the difference? Projectors give you a little better visibility, whereas the reflectors are going to be more affordable over time and easier to maintain. So yeah, kind of depends on what you're going for. But LED daytime running lights do come standard on all trim levels across the board. Get the automatic feature with the headlights. You also get automatic high beams for all trim levels as well. So if you have your high beams on at night and it senses the vehicle coming in the opposite direction, it's going to automatically dim them back to low beams. Then when that vehicle is gone, it's going to automatically bounce it back up the high beams for you there. You guys can see there's LED fog lights down to the bottom portion of the front end there. That's going to come with the SX and the SX Prestige trim levels if you wanted those. And touching on the front grille a little bit, it is going to differ slightly dependent upon the trim level that you go with. So you're going to get a vertical pattern for the LX, the LXS, and the EX trim levels, and then a horizontal pattern in that front grille for the SX and the SX Prestige. Also, all the way down below there, you will find a front skid plate. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to show it to you guys, but that's for the SX and the SX Prestige trim levels if you wanted that. But that pretty much rounds out the front end of the Carnival. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the side. All right, so now since we are around to the side of the Carnival here, roof rails will come on the EX trim level and up. Rear privacy glass does come standard for all trim levels across the board. Power sliding rear doors for all trim levels as well, and that can be controlled by the key fob if you wanted that, or of course the door handle itself. And then taking a look at the side mirrors, they are body colored power adjustable side mirrors that will be heated for all trim levels. Get LED integrated turn signals for all trim levels as well. That's pretty cool. And they're going to be power folding then for the EX trim level and up. Other thing I want to mention, since we are to the side real quick and we get up a little bit closer, is this texturized pattern found on the C pillar. So that is kind of like, there's little indentations, kind of diamond pattern indentations there, and that's different, and that kind of makes it unique. So I just did want to highlight that a little bit real quick. But anyways, then taking a look down at the wheel setup, they are going to differ substantially dependent upon the trim level that you go with. Of course, 17-inch alloys for the LX and LXS trims, 19-inch gloss black / machine finished alloys for the EX, 19-inch black alloys for the SX, that's what you guys are looking at, and then 19-inch gloss black alloys for the SX Prestige. But that pretty much rounds out the side. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the back. All right, and so now since we are around to the back of the Carnival here, starting all the way to the top, you do have a body-colored shark fin antenna. Just below that, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light. And of course, you might be wondering where the rear window wiper is since it's not affixed to the rear glass. I'm going to show you guys. It is tucked away up underneath. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully you can. There it is. Yep, it's definitely there. Just kind of like the Tahoe, so it doesn't impede on rear visibility. I suppose that's the reason why they do it. As far as the taillights go, this is kind of interesting. It's incandescent for all trim levels but the SX Prestige, because that's where you're going to get the LED taillights. So, Kia, if you're watching this, wouldn't mind it maybe LEDs across the board. That's typically what you find these days on even a base Corolla will give you LED taillights, but Anyways, then just below it all, you will find a single exhaust outlet. It is tucked away underneath. So having said that, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next here. As always, here is that exhaust clip. Alright, so now since we are around to the back of the Carnival here, when it comes to opening that rear lift gate, it is going to be a power lift gate with auto close for the EX trim level and up. That's how you're going to go ahead and get that. There is a button on the key fob though to go ahead and open it up. Of course, there is a button on the lift gate itself then as well, but once opened up, cargo capacity behind that third row comes in at a very impressive 40.2 cubic feet, mainly because it is so deep of a storage back there in typical minivan fashion. So you got a ton of storage behind that third row. With the third row folded down, that bumps that up to 86.9 cubic feet, which is insanely impressive. Then with all rows folded, 145.1 cubic feet. So little comparison here so you can kind of get a grasp of what that number is. 158 cubic feet for the Odyssey. That is the most. The Sienna gives you a lot less at 101 cubic feet. Still impressive though. And then the Chevy Tahoe comes in at 122.7 cubic feet. So it has tons more space than a Chevy Tahoe. That is a good bit of space. That's all I'm trying to say there. But there's a 12-volt power outlet back there. There's also a 115-volt power outlet in that cargo area as well. And a bunch of indented kind of cubby storage found in the cargo area too, which is always nice. But then making our way up to the third row legroom, that is going to come in at an impressive 35.6 inches, which is impressive for a third row. For reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the third row. In case you're curious, the rear air vents are going to be located kind of on the ceiling of the Carnival, so everyone is comfortable at all times there. Got some cup holders back there. Love seeing the dual rear charging ports, the USB charging ports for this third row passengers. The other thing I really love seeing is you get rear window sunshades for the third row as well. A lot of times that's just a second row feature on upper trim levels, but the Carnival gives it to you in the third row as well, which is pretty nice. But then making our way up to the second row legroom, that is going to come in at 40.5 inches. Again, for reference, I'm still an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the second row there. Do get dual rear USB charging ports for the second row passengers. Again, rear window sunshades for the EX trim level and up. Second row heated and ventilated lounge sheets are going to be an optional package on the SX Prestige. Of course, we don't have that option. As far as the seating configuration goes for those second row passengers, it's seat 7 for the LX, and that's going to be optional on the SX Prestige, and then it's going to seat 8, meaning 3 seats in that second row for the LXS, the EX, the SX, and the SX Prestige trim levels. And by the way, Tri-Zone Climate Control comes standard on all trim levels across the board, and that's going to be kind of located on the ceiling in this one, so the rear passengers could technically set their own temperatures back there as well if they wanted to. But then making our way up to the front seats, manually adjustable cloth seats for the LX, 8-way power driver seat with 4-way power lumbar for the LXS trim level and up, 8-way power adjustable passenger seat for the EX trim level and up, heated front seats for the LXS trim level and up, ventilated front seats for the SX and the SX Prestige, memory settings for the EX trim level and up, and that is located, it looks like, on the door here in case you're curious about that. Syntex upholstery for the LXS, EX, and SX trims, and then leather seating for the SX Prestige. Now, as far as seat comfort goes, it was plenty fine. Nothing that really blew me away. Certainly not Sportage comfortable, but still plenty fine for taking this thing on a road trip or something like that. But now let's go ahead and look at the steering wheel, because it is wrapped in a navy blue leather, and that's stinking cool. So LXS trim level and up is going to give you leather wrapped steering wheel. Heated steering wheel is going to come in the SX Prestige. And again, if you get the navy blue and light color interior like I have with me here today, you're going to get the navy blue on the steering wheel as well, and that is so rare. The only other vehicle that I see navy blue on probably is Volvo in their EX30 specifically is what comes to mind. But anyways, I love the rear colors like that. I feel like it's very nautical. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys the key. You got your Kia logos on both sides, but all of the buttons are actually located on the side of the key, including lock, unlock, the button for the lift gate. You also have the button to open up the power second row doors, and then the hold button, that is your remote start, which comes standard on all trim levels, but it is all keyless entry with a push button start. So all I'm going to do here here, simply put my foot on the brake and press that silver engine start button located just by the driver's right knee. But so then once started up, when it comes to that gauge cluster, it's going to be a 4.2-inch digital screen for the LX, LXS, and EX trims, and then a 12.3-inch curved digital gauge cluster, and it's all attached to the infotainment screen as well. It looks so dang good, but that's for the SX and the SX Prestige like we have with us here today. So the other cool thing is when you change the drive mode, it does adjust the colors and the look of the gauges up there as well. So normal is going to have its own look, sport is going to have its own look with a bunch of red hues, smart looks like normal, and then eco is going to have a bunch of kind of greenish aqua color hues. So all that definitely looks good as well. It gives you how many miles you have left until you hit empty, outside temperature, pretty much everything you could possibly want up there. So gauges are done plenty fine. But then make your way to overall interior quality. You're going to find dual sunroofs for the SX and the SX Prestige, meaning both the front passengers and the second row passengers have their own individual sunroof. So that's pretty cool. You don't see it often done that way. Typically it's just like a panoramic moonroof kind of thing. But LED interior lighting for the SX and SX Prestige trim levels. Home link controls are going to come with the SX Prestige only. You're going to find a wireless phone charger located just in front of the shifter for the EX trim level and up. And just beside that, you have even more storage for another cell phone, if you have two cell phones, of course. Just to the right of the shifter, you have your cup holders there. There's an electromechanical parking brake, and then within the center armrest, there's a ton of storage within that center armrest, so definitely no issues there. But overall, as far as interior quality goes, some of the finishes are kind of plasticky, and that's okay because the colors and everything that they used are absolutely phenomenal. So it's kind of like this gunmetal look just above the climate control settings and on the doors, and yes, that's plastic, but it still looks good. The navy blue though is what really I'm absolutely in love with. It looks so stinking cool on the doors, on the seats, on the dash. Definitely a big fan on the steering wheel as well, and it goes really good with the light contrast leather found on the seats and everywhere else too. So as far as color combos go, I don't think it gets any better than this. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the infotainment screen here. Again, it's a 12.3-inch curved color touchscreen display, and that is actually standard for all trim levels. You get Bluetooth and audio streaming, wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Factory navigation system actually comes standard on all trim levels as well, which is kind of rare. You never see that, so well done Kia for that. You can check out weather information up here. You can check out sports up here. There's a voice memo system where you can record your voice and then play it back at a later date. That's kind of neat. There's also a passenger view button though. That is really cool. So there's a little camera. I see it. There's a camera located on the ceiling where you can watch the rear passengers both in the second and third row. That is so cool. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's really well done. Good job, Kia. Anyways, you got your radio information, of course, up there as well. So when it comes to the sound systems, there's 6 speakers for the LX and LXS, 8 speakers for the EX and SX, and then a 12-speaker Bose sound system for the SX Prestige. So having said that, we got the 8-speaker sound system with us here today. So let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing today, and let's test out the clarity of this one. It's actually pretty darn good. So plenty clear. Like the clarity was 100% on point. Bass is pretty good too. Honestly, it's probably the perfect sound system for what the Carnival is. The only thing I was looking for is I didn't see a volume knob, which is kind of odd. Like that's something I always look for. I was trying to turn up and down the volume really quickly, but I just used the steering wheel mounted controls because that is the only thing that I actually found. So that's kind of interesting, but anyways, it's a plenty good sound system. But last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on the infotainment screen is when you do put the Carnival in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board, pretty high definition as well actually, and then a 360-degree monitor that's going to come with the SX and SX Prestige trim levels, giving you that bird's eye view there to the right, which is always going to lead us into safety. And so this is one of the parts where there's a little constructive criticism here as well. This is not an IIHS top safety pick. Matter of fact, I'm not sure any of the minivans are. I could be wrong there, so go ahead and look it up for yourself. But this one isn't an IIHS top safety pick because of the poor side crash test rating. So no minivan, by the way, got a good or acceptable rating in the side crash test. So keep that in mind as well. Maybe it's just a minivan thing, but anyways, front side curtain airbags do come standard. You get a driver's knee airbag up front as well. In the back, you got latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats. Rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard. Blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert, forward collision avoidance assist, automatic emergency braking, front and rear parking sensors. That's pretty cool. Lane departure warning, lane keep assist, lane following assist, and highway driving assist then as well. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts here of the Carnival, plenty of space, 140 whatever cubic feet of cargo space I said. That's brilliant. That makes for a really good road trip vehicle. I'm just saying. The other thing is, this is probably the best looking minivan, objectively speaking. Like, this kind of looks like an SUV, but it is a minivan competing with the Sienna and the Odyssey and the Pacifica, but this is the best looking one. So it's very kind of aggressive looking. And I love the amber daytime running lights up front as well. I don't think I said that before, but that's a really good look. It's very unique looking. You also get America's Best warranty. You can't beat that. That's a ton of peace of mind there, especially if you're like my wife and you drive less than 10,000 miles a year. That means you got this thing warranted on the powertrain for 10 years, which is a wonderful thing. Now, as far as the room for improvement goes, no all-wheel drive is offered. It's not a huge deal. It's something I personally prefer living in Pennsylvania, though, because we do get snow, but the Honda Odyssey doesn't offer all-wheel drive either. If you want it, you have to go with the Sienna or the Pacifica, and the Pacifica isn't reliable enough for me to consider. It's really the only option in my mind for a minivan with all-wheel drive is going to be the Sienna. The other thing is, again, back to the safety, is you get poor side crash test rating, and it's not an IIHS top safety pick. Because of that particular reason, in the back of my mind, since I'm going to have kids in the back, that kind of is a big deal to me. So maybe I wouldn't get the Carnival, but maybe I would consider something like the Kia Telluride, because the Telluride is an IIHS top safety pick plus, which is the highest rating. You also get all-wheel drive, and it's a decent amount of space. It's 88 cubic feet, so it's nowhere close, honestly, to what this is, but it's still a 3-row SUV with a decent amount of space. So that's probably what I would consider. And the other thing is, with the Telluride, you could still get this navy blue interior, which I'm a huge fan of. So anyways, those are all my random thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of the Carnival in the comments section below. That's about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on social media stuff if you wanted to see what's coming next on the channel before it gets to YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe and the bell notification button. I've been reviewing cars for 11 years now, so if that's something you're into, go ahead and hit subscribe. But do appreciate you guys watching more than you know, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Stay gold.